War Thunder's winter sales are officially here, which gave me an idea. I said I wanted to make a video on the best premiums in the game, and now is the perfect time to do so. If you guys are planning on buying anything, I hope that I can help inform your decisions. If not, I hope this video will at least be entertaining. Typically when I make this kind of video, I just run through the vehicles until I talk about the winner, and I will be doing that for this video too, but I'll also be talking about the best premiums per tree. If you're trying to grind Russia, knowing a US vehicle is best wouldn't be very helpful. But before we get into it, I want to talk about my sponsor. I'm partnered with Apex Gaming. They make pre-built PCs. If you're looking to upgrade, you should check them out. Link is in the description and comments. You can use my username as a discount code on checkout. Now back to the video. The first tank I tried was the T114. It might not seem like much at first glance, but it is one of the strongest vehicles in the game, bar none. The recoilless rifle can fire heat rounds every 2.5 seconds, for at most 4 rounds at a time. If you wait for the ready rack to replenish, you can sustain that fire rate indefinitely. It's pretty fast even for a light tank, but the biggest draw for me is its low profile. The T114 is pretty tiny. The smaller you are, the less likely people are to notice or hit you. That makes it perfect as a flanker or ambush tank. Survivability is otherwise non-existent, but not getting hit in the first place is always preferable. The rounds are pretty low velocity, but this sometimes lets you lob rounds over cover. There's also the coax 50 cal spotting MG, so that makes hitting targets at range a bit easier. To be quite honest, I didn't think I would do very well on the T114. Every time I tried to play it recently, my rounds did absolutely no damage. That was not the case this time. I was able to consistently get a large number of kills. There were 3 games where I had 8 kills or more, and I even dropped a nuke in one. It can be a little rough when you're up tiered to fight stabilized tanks, but the T114 is still incredibly strong. If it were still 6.7, I would say it's outright overpowered. Which brings us to our next tank, the Soviet T-55AM. It is one of the most broken tanks in the game. Broken isn't overpowered, not incorrect. It's like the other tier 6 premiums, a heavily upgraded version of an old Cold War tank, but it sits at a much lower BR. Most of those tanks sit at 9.0, while the AM sits at 8.3. It doesn't get thermals, but it faces much weaker foes. It has a fully stabilized gun that can fire APFSDS, but you're honestly better off taking APHE. The vast majority of the tanks you fight have very little armor. Leopards, AMX-30s, Bradleys, stuff like that. Against those tanks, APHE is much more useful, because it is much better at one-shotting. Combine it with the AM's laser rangefinder, and it is quite nasty. It also has access to ATGMs, for taking out helicopters or long-range targets. But that's not all. The armor on it is pretty amazing for its BR range. Most of the tanks you fight still have chemical effect rounds. Thanks to the composite applique, the AM is more or less immune to the majority of these. Even if a tank does have kinetic rounds, the armor drastically reduces the amount of spall they produce, as do the fuel tanks. The AM is stupidly powerful, to the point it's kinda boring to play. If you want to turn your brain off and win, it's all well and good, but it's not very engaging at all. There's another tank that's also very powerful, but much more fun to play. I think the Samoa Sm is the best premium in War Thunder. It might just look like a typical French tank, but it's so much more. It's got the same powerful gun as the Lorraine 40T, and also has a 4-second reload rate. At 8 rounds, the ready rack on the Samoa is a bit larger, making its endurance better. The ammo can pen pretty much everything it sees. At 30 degrees per second, the turret's reverse rate is quite quick, giving the Samoa excellent reaction times. Power to weight ratio is also quite good, 16 horsepower per ton, making it decently fast for a heavy tank. It's not at all hard to kill if you know where to shoot it, but most people don't. Overall armor coverage is pretty good, and has a fairly large crew of 5, making it pretty tanky. I thought the Samoa would be useless when it was first added, but it has quickly become one of my all-time favorite tanks to play. It's perfect as a close-range brawler, but will do well in basically any situation. With that out of the way, here are the best premiums per tree. For the US, it's obviously the T114, either that or the T14. For Germany, it's the TAM2IP or the Jagdpanther. Russia, it's hands down the T55AM. Britain, the AVRE and Black Prince. For Japan, the Chi-Nu 2 and Type 75. China, the ZTZ59A. Italy, the M4 Hybrid. France, the Samoa Sm and B1 Tur. Sweden, the SAV and STRV 103. And finally, for Israel, well, you don't have many options there. That's all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.